Tuesday, September 3rd. I'm joined by Cole Shelton for a special edition of the MMAOB Daily Podcast, breaking down an amazing card this weekend, UFC 242. Cole, I'm really excited to talk about this card. Let's plug our stuff at the end here. You guys can follow us on Twitter, of course, at MMADMartin and Cole Shelton 91. We'll plug the other websites we work for. But, of course, you guys are joining us on MMAOddsbreaker.com. The full odds are up for UFC 242, so we have 13 fights to talk about right now with full odds, and I'm excited to talk about this card. Cole, just initial thoughts and overall on this card, looking ahead at it.
Yeah, it's a good card. Obviously, main event, it's what a lot of people are talking about. The Khabib Poirier fight should be good. But on the prelims, there's a lot of good fights. Like, opening up the card is Don Madge, who I'm really high on. Like, I like Don Madge a lot. Like, Bilal Muhammad's on the card. You got a really interesting women's fight between Andrew Lee and Joanne Calderwood. There's, like, a lot of solid fights on this card.
I agree. One sec, I'm just pulling up the opening odds here. My computer's slow right now. Let's see here. All right, got it. Yeah, 13 fights. And like you said, Don Madge opens up the card. We'll start there. First fight of the night, Don Madge takes on Faraz Ziam, making a short notice UFC debut here in the lightweight division. The opening odds had Don Madge minus 350, Ziam plus 250 right now. Don Madge minus 190, Ziam plus 165. So really action is actually coming on Ziam. What are your thoughts on this fight, Cole?
Yeah, I like Don Madge in this fight. I've been really impressed with him in the UFC. He's obviously coming off that nice head kick and knockout of Tay Edwards where he followed up with the punches. That was his UFC debut. Good fight. But if you look at his record, like, he has 3 losses, but he's lost to the same person 3 times. Like, I guess it's just like the African regional MMA scene's probably not many people fighting, so you have to keep on fighting the same people. But he's been really impressive in the UFC, and even before the UFC in like EFC, which is a good promotion in Africa. He's looked really impressive. Ziam obviously making UFC debut. Again, you don't really know how they're going to look in the UFC debut. Madge has that experience, and he looked really impressive. I think Madge gets this done. I wouldn't even be surprised if he knocks him out.
Yeah, I like Don Madge for sure here. I was super impressed with his debut against Tay Edwards. That was an incredible debut. Big underdog there. Tay Edwards was supposed to win that fight, and Madge absolutely dominated, and he looked good doing so. He's won his last 5 straight fights, all by stoppage. In fact, all of his professional wins are by stoppage. And like you said, Cole, he's lost to Leon Minhart 3 times. Maybe we'll see that guy in the UFC one day. I don't know. But this guy is definitely a good fighter. He takes on Ziam here. I don't know too much about this guy. 22 years old, so he's a young dude. He's coming off 5 straight wins. But Cole, look who he's fought. Very low-level competition. The most notable guy he's fought is Damian Lapalus, the brother of Taylor Lapalus. That's it. I don't recognize anyone else he's fought. So I feel like the level of competition here is going to come into play. Don Madge has fought better guys. Listen, there's definitely some sort of risk here because Madge has only had 1 fight in the UFC. He hasn't fought in about a year now. But from what we saw in that debut, this guy's good. He should win this fight, and he has to win if he wants to keep moving forward in a really stacked lightweight division. So I got Don Madge here, Cole, and I think he does win by stoppage just based on the fact that all his other wins are by stoppage. Should be a good fight. Next up, we have a middleweight bout between Omari Akhmedov and Zach Cummings. I think it's middleweight, right? Let me double check that. Yeah, middleweight. Okay, so Omari Akhmedov opened at minus 185. Cummings was opened at plus 145. Right now, it's nearly a pick on Akhmedov minus 120. Cummings plus 100. Who's your pick, Cole?
Following the trend, I like Zach Cummings here. The past couple fights I've picked him. I've been impressed with him as of late. The Giles fight really showed me that he can be something good because Giles had a lot of hype behind him. Akhmedov, obviously, he has a lot of good wins. He has a win over Abdul Razak Al Hassan. His last fight, he beat Tim Bosch. Before that, he had a draw against Marvin Vittori. But I just think Cummins, I like the experience. They both have a lot of experience, but I like what Cummins has done as of late in the UFC. I think his past wins are more impressive. But I think this fight goes the distance. I think the odds are right. It's a pick-em fight, but I just favor Cummins slightly to get the win by decision.
This is a really close fight for sure. It can go either way, and I think the pick-em odds are right. The opening odds were definitely too high, I think, but it's a tough fight to call, Cole. I mean, both guys can win this fight. They both have, I think, better gas tanks at 185, more durability, I think, as well. But I don't know. It can go either way. I kind of favor Cummings a little bit as well. I think the experience and just he has looked pretty good in those last couple of wins too. If he won that Preserves fight, he'd be on a 5-fight win streak. Great submission game. I think the difference here would be the cardio. I think he can win a decision. So my pick's going to be Zach Cummings to win a decision. I might switch my pick possibly. probably not. I sometimes say it on this podcast, and I never end up doing it. There was a couple last week I kind of wish I did. We'll talk about the China card later. But yeah, this fight's a close fight. I personally would not feel comfortable betting on this fight because I do feel like it can go either way. Two guys in their 30s, two guys that have shown some flaws in their game, but also have shown some pretty good stuff lately as well. So I'll take Cummings to win decision as well, Cole. I'll go with you with the underdog. Consensus dog here, Zach Cummings plus 100. Next up, we have a welterweight bout between Muslim Salikov and Nordin Taleb. The opening odds had Salikov minus 195, Taleb plus 155. Right now, we actually have the line flipped. Taleb's minus 120 as a favorite, and Salikov's plus 100. Who's your pick, Cole?
Yeah, this is a really close fight and really interesting fight. Obviously, Nordin Taleb got that big win last time out against Kyle Preplik, and before that, he was on the 2-fight losing streak. Salikov, his last fight he knocked out Ricky Rainey. I think Taleb gets it done here. I think his striking is just a tad better. It should be a really close fight. I think the odds are right having Taleb as the slight favorite. It's another close fight. I wouldn't recommend betting because it could go either way. We've seen Taleb, like, if he gets down to the ground, we've seen him get submitted tons of times. But I think Taleb can keep this fight on the feet, use his striking, just edge out a decision win. Yeah,
this fight I would not bet on this either. Man, this can go either way for sure. Both guys have looked okay at times, but have also struggled. Salikov coming off the win over Ricky Rainey, where he looked really good, but the Garcia loss, that was not good. Garcia is not a great fighter, and he gassed out, which I didn't like. Taleb coming off a decent win here against Preplik on short notice against that overmatched opponent. Before that, lost 2 straight fights by stoppage, though. On the ground, too, like you said, Cole, that's his biggest weakness. This fight can go either way. I want to lean slightly towards Muslim Salikov. I do think the fans can really help push him to a victory here. There's going to be a lot of Muslim people in the crowd for this fight, and I feel like they'll help their namesake get the win here. So, close fight. Don't think I'd bet on it here, but I slightly lean towards Muslim Salikov as a small underdog here at plus 100. Next up, we have another Muslim fighter here. Is Bilal Muhammad takes on Takashi Sato in a welterweight belt. This should be a pretty good fight, Cole. Muhammad opened at minus 230, Sato opened at plus 170. Right now, Muhammad minus 370, Sato plus 310. So a lot of action coming in on Bilal Muhammad. Remember the name. Does he win, Cole?
Yeah, I think Bilal Muhammad wins, but I don't think there's any value on him at minus 370. Like, we've seen Sato has knockout power. Like, all it takes is one punch, but Muhammad has a good chin. We saw in the Jeff Neal fight, he took a lot of punches and kept on going forward. And he didn't get dropped, or I don't think he got dropped, but he was up against the fence a couple times. But Sato's last fight was a really impressive knockout win over Ben Saunders. This is a fight I favor Muhammad. I think he's better. He's more experienced. His striking's more polished. If he takes this fight down to the ground, I think his ground game, as he showed against Millender when he used the wrestling, it can be a huge factor in this fight. But I think got Muhammad. I think he could finish this fight. I think it goes the distance, but it's a fight I just wouldn't bet on at minus 370. There isn't a ton of value there.
Yeah, I agree with what you said. I think the odds are definitely too high now. At opening, minus 230, that was a pretty fair line. Minus 370 is just, I think, out of range to bet on right now. If it goes back down, maybe. But, Sato's got power. He knocked out Ben Saunders. Great performance. Actually, he has a ton of knockouts in his career. The guy's got a ton of KO power. So I personally would not feel comfortable betting on Muhammad at these odds because he has been KO'd before. We saw against Vicente Luque. Sure, that's Luque. That's a special fighter. But remember the Al Juban fight? He was getting absolutely pounded on. Didn't get knocked out, but he still got hurt in that fight. The Jeff Neal fight, he took a lot of damage as well, Cole. It's just a matter of time maybe until he does get knocked out again. So I do think that Muhammad's wrestling and his cardio will be the difference in this fight. His work rate is very high. He's a guy who can push through and pressure guys and take them down, beat them up. I think that's what happens here. I think he does take Sato out of his element on the feet and grinds a decision out, but I wouldn't feel comfortable laying minus 370 on a guy that can get knocked out. So my pick is Muhammad to win a decision, but the odds are a little bit too high for me to bet on this one. Next up, we have a lightweight bout between Timu Packalin and Otman Azatar. The odds opened at Azatar minus 305, Packalin plus 225. Right now, Azatar minus 210, Packalin plus 175. Who's your pick, Cole?
Well, normally I like the people that have fought in the UFC, but this is the exact opposite. I like Azatar. Packalin hasn't fought since March 2017 when he was knocked out by Mark Diakese in 30 seconds. Since then, he was scheduled to fight later in 2017, had to pull out because of injury, and then supposed to fight in 2019 against Yakovlev, and had to pull out because of injury. He hasn't fought in forever. Azatar's been fighting in Brave, which is a good promotion in the Middle East. He'll have a ton of fans behind him. and I think he'll get this done. A lot of his wins have come by knockout. We've seen Pacquiao get knocked out. I think Azatar wins this by knockout.
Yeah, I believe his brother is in the UFC, Abu Azatar. I'm pretty sure that's his brother. He fought last year on that Germany card. So I think they are. I think they're brothers. I'm pretty sure they are. So that's a kind of interesting. I'm sure he'll be in his corner. And yeah, I kind of agree with you on this one, Cole. For me, this is a pure fate of Teemu Pacquiao. This guy, I don't think is UFC caliber. I have not been impressed with him in the UFC. He lost to Mikel Labout, who's far gone from the UFC. Lost to Mark Diakase. He did have that win over Thibaut Gouti, but I'm surprised Thibaut Gouti's still on the roster. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Cole, he just tested positive for something, didn't he? Thibaut Gouti? You would know.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the guy that's going to get cut. So, I mean, that's not even a great win. Azatar, obviously no experience, like you said, Cole, but 29 years old, 11-0 in his career. Level of competition, not bad for, I think, for a guy his level. Some of the fighters he's fought in Brave were decent. But like you said, Cole, he's fought in that part of the world. The fans will be behind him in this fight. I think Azatar wins. And he probably wins by stoppage. I think Pacquiao just is not UFC caliber. I think he probably just get finished in this fight. Next up, we have a women's bantamweight bout between Sarah Morris and Liana Yuya. Yuya opened at minus 165. Morris opened at plus 125. Right now, we have Yuya minus 145. Morris plus 125. Who's your pick, Cole?
I like Yuya in this one. I haven't been impressed with Sarah Morris. She's on a 3-fight losing streak. The fight against Macy Chiasson, she had success for about 30 seconds, and Macy really turned it on. Lost to Tiana Bernardo and lost to Lucy Pudilova. She has a win over Ashley Evans-Smith, which is okay. But I don't know, I just haven't been too impressed with her. Yuya, she looks impressive. She comes from a Muay Thai background. Her striking, I think, is better than Sarah Morais. I haven't been impressed with her at all, like her striking. I think Yuya gets this win, but I think it goes the distance. And I think this is a fight that Morais has to win to keep her spot in the UFC.
Look at her Tapology picture. Look, Cole, you ever Tapology out? Yuya?
Yeah.
Look at the guy in the background on the left. What's he looking at? This guy's just got his eyes. Yeah, I know, right? Look at him. Anyways, yeah, I think she wins for sure. Yuya, this for me is another fade on a fighter. Morris, she's Canadian. Me and Cole, we love our fellow Canadians, but Sarah Morris is someone that somehow has hung on to the UFC for a long time, Cole. And she does have a couple, I guess, okay wins, like the Ashley Evans-Smith when she won Performance of the Night in Edmonton. That was a good performance. She also has a win over Juliana Pena for 2012. But for the most part, Cole, when she steps up in competition, she loses. This is actually probably the quote-unquote worst fighter she's fought in a little while here, but I still think Yuya wins. I mean, from what I've seen, she's pretty impressive. Young fighter, 24 years old. She's on a nice 5-fight win streak here. Four of those wins by stoppage. Fighting against Global and that also in Cumberland fight. So she's fought some decent organizations. But again, it's a fate of Sarah Morris. And I kind of feel bad for her. I mean, listen, man, she left everything. I think she had a job at Canada Post, if I'm not mistaken, and she left it to move to Vegas, if I'm not mistaken, to train full-time. Has not gone well. The fight with Macy Chiasson, that didn't end well for her. She got brutally finished. Chiasson is a great fighter, though, so can't hold it against her. But losing to Toledo Bernardo, that's someone who's not really UFC caliber either. And I think that you can beat Sarah Morris on the feet or on the ground, and I think she's going to lose this fight. So my pick's Yuya, and I think she probably does get a submission in this fight. Next up, we have a featherweight bout between Zubaira Tukhugov and Lerone Murphy. Opening odds, Tukhugov, oh man, minus 565, Murphy plus 375. Right now, slightly less. Tukhugov minus 400, Murphy plus 400. Sorry, I meant to say minus 500 on Tukhugov, but still a massive favorite. Who's your pick, Cole?
There's no point in betting Tukhugov. He hasn't fought since 2016. I don't know why he's a huge favorite. Like his last fight was at UFC 198 when he lost to Renato Moicano by decision. Since then, he had a canceled bout in 2016 because he failed a drug test. And in 2018, he's supposed to fight Artem Lobov, and he was pulled from it because he was part of that UFC 229 brawl. And Dana White said, this guy will never fight in the UFC again. Like, what he did was awful. And look at this. Not even a year later, he's fighting in the UFC. So another thing Dana White says that turns out not to be true. But, I mean, Lerone Murphy's been active. He's been fighting. Like, obviously, he hasn't been fighting a lot of known guys, but he's been finishing people by knockout. Tukhugov, he hasn't fought in so long. Like, Tukhugov, I think, is the better fighter, but the long layoff scares me. There's no point of betting on this fight. if you bet on this fight, I think you just lay some money on Murphy and see what happens because he has some knockout power.
Yeah, I agree completely. Why is Tukhugov such a big favorite? What has he proven in his career that he should be a minus 500 favorite? Minus 565 at open. This guy's so overrated. He hasn't fought in 3 years, Cole. He had the brawl with Khabib. I think that's why he's such a big favorite because of his friendship with Khabib. But man, this guy he's not great. I mean, in his career in the UFC, he's, to me, not been impressive. Douglas Andrade is a good win. That was 5 years ago. I think if they fought again, Andrade might win. But also, Andrade is a bantamweight. He's not even a featherweight. Ernest Chavez is not a UFC caliber fighter. He finished him. He should have. Then he barely beat Philippe Novikov by split decision. That's a guy who's not UFC caliber either. The Mocanio fight, yeah, it was a close fight, but he lost. And since then, he hasn't fought. 3 years. That's a long time to lay off. So coming off 3-year layoff, I never bet on guys like that. In fact, I usually fade guys like that. The problem with here is with Murphy, number one, he's making his UFC debut. Number two, he's fighting on short notice. This fight was booked on pretty short notice. And honestly, the guys he's beaten are pretty bad. So actually, look at the one guy he's beaten, Cole, Nathan Thompson, 7-39 record. That guy's just terrible. So yeah, I mean, I can't pick Murphy because he hasn't fought anyone decent. But at the same time, Cole, he fought in May and knocked the guy out. So he's fought very recently. He actually had 3 fights last year as well. I wouldn't be surprised if Murphy actually pulled this off, to be honest with you, but I just can't pick him just because I do think Tukhugov has proven a little bit more in the UFC. So I'll pick Tukhugov to win a decision here, maybe finish the fight. But if you're going to put money on this fight, I think Cole's right. I think it's dog or pass, and I think you might throw a few bucks on Leon Murphy at plus 400. I mean, these odds just seem a little crazy to me, considering Tukhugov has proven not much in the UFC, and he is coming off a long layoff. All right, women's. This is the prelim main event. Women's flyweight bout between Andrea Lee and Joanne Calderwood. Andrea Lee opened at minus 165. Calderwood plus 125 at open. Right now, Andrea Lee minus 230. Calderwood plus 190. Who's your pick, Cole?
Yeah, this will be a really good fight. Both girls have looked really impressed with the UFC, but I like Andrea Lee in this one. I think this is a good next step for Lee. She's been really impressive, coming off that win over Montella and De La Rosa. Calderwood coming off that loss over Kayla Chikagan, or if she won that, she probably would have been fighting Shevchenko. It should be primarily a striking fight between these two. I think Lee has the better striking. I think she'll add just her past couple wins. Like, she's on a huge winning streak. I've just been really impressed with Lee. I think she could. I think a win here could get her a title shot, and I think she gets the job done by decision, and she just outpoints Calderwood.
Yeah, I like Andrea Lee as well. I think the odds are actually decent here. You know, she's a winner. She wins fights. She's won 7 straight fights, in fact. And she looked pretty good in the UFC. 3 straight wins. Macedo, Ashley Evans Smith, Montana De La Rosa. For me, the De La Rosa fight was, for me, very eye-opening. It just showed that she has taken that next step in her career. I think not leaving, but I think that Donnie Aaron guy, Tapology still lists him as her head coach. I'm pretty sure he's in jail right now, or he's on the run or something, Cole. That scumbag she was married to. So now that she's left him, she's looked even better, in my opinion. I think this could be something that really catapults her career, just getting away from that kind of negativity in her life. Calderwood is a good fighter for sure, but I feel like, Cole, we've been talking about her as a prospect for so long, and she's not anymore. She's 33 now, and she just has not put it together. The Lipsky fight earlier this year was a good performance, but Chookagian fight was a step backwards, and I feel like this is going to be another step backwards. I like Andrea Lee here. I think actually she could be worth a bet here at minus 230. I do believe she wins this fight, and she's someone that I feel like you can put up your money on and feel pretty confident with her getting her hand raised. So give me Andrea Lee. It'd be nice to see her get a finish goal. I think if she gets a finish, she actually might get a title shot next, but even a decision, 8 straight wins, that'd be pretty close to getting that fight with Valentina Shevchenko, which that'd be a tough fight, but I think Calderwood's very winnable for her. All right, time for the main card. This is a pretty solid main card. Like, it's maybe missing a big co-main event, but overall still a really good card. First up, opening up the main card on the pay-per-view, which, by the way, I believe starts at 2 p.m. Is that right, Cole? You're covering 2 p.m.? Yeah, okay. So early pay-per-view, guys, but that's good. We'll finish about like 4 or 5 o'clock, and then you'll have the rest of the Saturday to do whatever you want. Opening up the main card, a really good lightweight bout here between Mirabek Taisimov and Diego Ferreira. The opening odds had Taisimov minus 385, Ferreira plus 265. Right now we have Taisimov minus 255, Ferreira plus 215. So some slight action coming in on the dog here as the lines tighten up a bit, but still Taisimov is a big favorite. Who's your pick, Cole?
Yeah, I like Diego Ferreira here. I don't think the odds are right. I think the odds should be more in Ferreira's favor. I've been more impressed with him. His last win against Rustam Khabilov, that was kind of like a big step for him. And he really took it. Like, he dominated that fight. Before he beat Kyle Nelson, which it was short notice, but he looked good in that fight. And if you look at his record, like knocked out Jared Gordon in the first round, beat Olivier Aubin-Mercier. His only 2 losses are to Dustin Poirier, who's fighting for the title on this card, and Beneil Dariush, who's one of the best jiu-jitsu guys in the UFC. He has a win over Ramsey Nijam. He has just a bunch of good wins. Tuzumov, I know his last fight was in September 2018, so it's been a year where he beat Des Green by decision. He's had a lot of canceled bouts where like he just had a bunch of visa issues, so I know he'll have the crowd behind him. There's a fight I favor Freire. He comes from a good camp at Fortis, a lot of good looks, and I just think he'll get this one done by decision.
Yeah, great fight. Both guys are. I think they're both great fighters. Tyson Mob is someone that I've been extremely high on for a long time. 7-1 in the UFC. He's on a 6-fight win streak. The Des Green fight, I think, was a step backwards for him. But before that, he won 5 straight fights by KO. Cole. To be fair, lower level competition, I think. Damir Hadzovic is okay. Alan Patrick's an okay fighter, but for the most part, lower level guys. But the problem with him is, of course, his visa issues. He hasn't been able to fight in the United States. And I think that's why he's not been getting these big name fights that he really does deserve, because he's on a nice win streak. I do think he's a really good fighter, though. Good strike, really good striking. And he's improved his wrestling since that Michel Prezaire's fight where he looked terrible. And Ferreira's also looked amazing lately. I've been betting on him the last couple fights as an underdog. He was a dog against Habilov. He was a dog against, I think, was it Gordon, I believe? Nelson, he's a big favorite against. But I put out some money on this guy, and he's come through, and he's looked great. I saw him down in Brazil back in May. I saw him and Trinaldo both. They were supposed to fight. The fight got canceled because I think Ferrer had kidney stones. So that does worry me a little bit that he's coming back 4 months later after that issue. But I guess kidney stones are the most serious thing. But still, definitely not a good thing to have. This fight could go either way. I think the odds are a little off, like you mentioned, Cole. But I still favor Tysonov a little bit. I just think he's the better striker, and I think that's going to be the difference in this fight. Although, again, the odds seem a little off. And anyone who took for a plus 265 at open, I think made a pretty solid underdog bet, because I do think there was some value there. And there still might be, Cole, but I do favor Tysonov. I'm going to pick him to win this fight by it could be knockout or decision. I think there's a good chance he could win by knockout. All right, next up we have a heavyweight bout, which probably is going to end in knockout, between Curtis Blaydes and Shamil Abdurakhimov. Opening odds, Curtis Blaydes minus 275, Abdurakhimov plus 195. Curtis Blaydes right now minus 485, Abdurakhimov plus 385. Who do you like here, Cole?
I like Curtis Blaydes with the odds. I mean, there's no value. Like, we've seen Blaydes get knocked out. It's heavyweight MMA. It takes one punch for you to get knocked out. Abdurakhimov has a lot of knockout wins. He's coming, like, he's last win, he knocked out Marcin Tybura. He's knocked out Chase Sherman. But Blaydes, I think his wrestling will be a big factor in this fight. I think he can use his wrestling as an advantage to get his fight down to the ground, use some ground and pound. And I think Blaydes will be able to finish this fight. But again, the odds are way too high for me to lay money on Blaydes, because we've seen him get knocked out. It just takes one punch for him to get knocked out here.
Yeah, I'm really tempted to pick Abdurakhimov here, because I think this guy's underrated, and I don't think he gets the respect he deserves. He's a really good fighter, good wrestling, and he looked great in that last fight with that knockout over Marcin Tybura. Even the Arlovsky fight looked good in Cole. He's looked good in the UFC, man. He's got a 5-2 record. The Tim Johnson fight, that was a bad performance, but the Derek Lewis fight, he was winning the whole fight, and then it got finished in the 4th round. This is a 3-round fight. This fight can go either way, in my opinion. I think there is value on Shamil Abdurakhimov at plus 385. That's crazy to me. Curtis Blaydes, I have to pick him. I think he's the better fighter. Curtis Blaydes, great wrestler. We've seen the ground and pound from this guy. Even his striking's okay, but Cole, that chin does concern me, man. I think he can get KO'd in this fight, and that's why I'm not going to bet on him, especially at those odds. So to me, it's actually dog or pass. I'm tempted to pick Abdurakhimov and say, you know what, he's going to win as a plus 385 dog. I can't do it because I think Blaydes is the better fighter. But there's no doubt in my mind this is dog or pass situation. There's just no value here in Curtis Blaydes at minus 485. Those odds are just stupid to me. My pick is Curtis Blaydes to win this fight by decision or possibly by ground and pound, but do not be surprised if Abdurakhimov catches him and finishes him. It's actually not a bad stylistic matchup for the underdog. Next up, we have a really interesting lightweight bout between Davey Ramos and Ramos opened at plus 285, and currently we have Makhachev minus 330, Ramos plus 270. Who's your pick here, Cole?
I like Islam Makhachev here. I've been really impressed with him. His last fight really impressed me against Arman Tsaroukian. We've seen Tsaroukian look good as of late, win over Cajun Johnson. But Davey Ramos, I think the odds should be a bit closer. Davey Ramos has looked really impressive in the UFC. His last win against Austin Hubbard, he dominated. This is a fight, I think, stylistically, It's a really interesting fight. They both have similar styles, but I think Makhachev is just a tad better. He'll have the advantage with the crowd behind him. So I think he'll get this one by decision, but this is a much closer fight than the odds suggest.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. I think a lot of the odds in this card just seem a little bit inflated for the favorite. And this is another instance that, don't get me wrong, Makhachev's a great fighter. He's looked great, just amazing. UFC 6-1 record in the UFC, 5 straight wins now. The Tsarsukian fight, that was a great performance, great fight too. He's only lost once in his career to Adrian Martins by knockout. Martins actually at the time was a good fighter. Since then, he's looked amazing. And he's a friend of Khabib Nurmagomedov, of course, who's fighting on this card, and that should give him a boost. The fans are going to be behind this guy. Davey Ramos, he's looked great in the UFC too. 10-2 record, and he's 4-1 in the UFC. Excuse me. He's amazing on the ground, but can he get this fight to the ground? I don't know. I'm not sure because we saw how good Makhachev's takedown defense was in the last couple of fights. His ground game is really good too. Got to pick Makhachev here, Cole. I think he's going to either win a decision or possibly get the finish here, but I do favor him. I just think the odds are a little bit off in this one as well. Next up, co-main event of the evening. It's a rematch between Edson Barboza and Paul Felder. Opening odds had Barboza minus 175, Felder plus 135. Right now we have Barboza minus 155, Paul Felder plus 135. These two met back in 2015 at the UFC Barao versus Dillashaw 2 card, and Barboza won a very, very let's say, entertaining decision. That was a brutal fight for both guys, and I believe there was a lot of groin shots there to Paul, spinning back kicks to the low nether regions of Paul Felder. But either way, it was an amazing fight, and now we have the rematch between these two guys. Who's your pick, Cole?
I like Edson Barboza here. I think his leg kicks will be a big factor in this one. We've seen Felder take a lot of damage from the kicks. Barboza has one of the best leg kicks in the lightweight division or in the UFC. Like, he does a lot of damage, and I think his kicks in general, I think, will be able to catch Paul Felder. Felder has looked good as of late. The James Vick fight was really impressive. Barboza's coming off that knockout loss to Gaethje, but Gaethje's one of the best in the division. You can't fault him. Before that, he dominated Daniel Hooker in a fight that many were fading Barboza in that one, and he really showed that he still is one of the best. This fight should stay on the feet for most of it, and if it does, I think Barboza is the better striker. I think he has the more power. But I think the leg kicks will be able to really chop down Felder's lead leg, lead to some body shots. I think Barboza gets this one done by decision. It will be another great fight for the fans.
Yeah, this is going to be a great fight. I'm surprised they booked a rematch because they have fought before, and it was pretty lopsided in Barboza's favor. But at the same time, they needed a good fight for this co-main event on this card. And both these guys were available. So Barboza is one of my personal favorites, always has been. I saw his UFC debut live. It was the first UFC card I ever saw live in Detroit. Drove down with my friends back in 2010. It's been almost 10 years since that card. Wow, unbelievable. I remember that fight vividly against Mike Lulo with those nasty leg kicks. And he's just been a favorite of mine ever since then. The Terry Adam win, one of the best KOs ever. Looked amazing at times. Definitely could be finished himself. His chin is a little bit, I'd say, questionable at times, but overall, he's just an amazing fighter, and his striking is one of the best in the sport. Paul Felder is a great striker, too. He's very durable, very hard to finish. He has the loss against Ternaldo by Dr. Salp, who's a bad cut. But other than that, Cole, very hard to finish. But we have seen these two fight before, and we saw that Barboza's kicks were the difference. I feel like they're going to be again. Paul Felder's a great fighter, but he's a little bit older than Barboza, 35 years old. He's taken quite a bit of damage his last few fights, and so is Barboza for sure. And you know what? I wouldn't be surprised at all if Felder did catch Barboza, but at the same time, I just feel like Barboza's overall striking game is better. And I feel like the leg kicks, like you mentioned, Cole, those are the difference here. Barboza by decision once again in maybe fight of the night once again. And finally, we have arrived at the main event of the evening, the long-awaited fight between Dustin Poirier and Khabib Nurmagomedov for the UFC lightweight title. Khabib Nurmagomedov opened at minus 240. Dustin Poirier opened at plus 205. And right now we have Khabib Nurmagomedov minus 450. Dustin Poirier plus 360. Cole, who's your pick for the main event of UFC 242?
I think Khabib's going to win this fight. I think this is a much closer fight than the odds suggest and what a lot of the consensus is. I think Poirier is a live dog in this fight. Like, I think his takedown defense is really good, but Khabib's takedowns are just on another level. But I think Poirier has power. He has good striking. He has good boxing where I think he can try to keep the range. I think this is a much tougher fight than the McGregor fight is for Khabib because I think Poirier is better off his back. He has good jiu-jitsu, but Khabib's just looked unbeatable. He's 27-0 for a reason. He's dominated every fight. He has no one's came close to even beating him, and I think this is another fight where he'll win. I think this is a closer fight. I think but I think Khabib wins this by either late stoppage, like 4th or 5th round, or by decision.
Yeah, the odds are crazy again. I mean, what's with the odds on this card? This is a lot of disrespect, I think, towards Dustin Poirier. I get it. Listen, Khabib's amazing. And I think I bet on him and picked him every fight except for dumb and me, Conor McGregor. I think that was the one fight I picked against him. I thought he could get caught there, and he was actually looking at Conor McGregor. I would never bet against Khabib Nurmagomedov ever again. There's no chance I could do that. But at the same time, Poirier is an incredible fighter, and he's on such a nice win streak right now, Cole, and he's really improved his game. He's a 5-1 no contest in his last 6 fights. The win over Holloway was really eye-opening to me. It showed that he can really compete with those elite fighters, and that was a great win for him. Eddie Alvarez knocked him out. Gaethje knocked him out. Pettis finished him. The Jim Miller fight was probably the most competitive fight he's had lately. But man, he's great. Plus 360. Very, very tempting to put some money on Dustin Poirier here. I have a friend actually from my bowling league, and he loves Dustin Poirier here in the spot, and he thinks he's got a good chance. And you know what? At plus 360, Cole, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world to throw a few bucks on Dustin Poirier here. I think the odds are way off. But like you said, Cole, Khabib's takedowns, man, they're amazing, and he's amazing to watch. The crowd's going to be behind him. This card was built for Khabib to win, and I think he does win this fight, either by decision or late stoppage, but I just wouldn't lay minus 450 on Khabib in the spot. It could be one of those spots where you see one of the biggest upsets probably in the last little while here, with Dustin Poirier possibly catching Khabib and finishing. I think that'd probably be the way he wins this fight. So, in my opinion, it's dog or pass probably at these odds. I'm going to pick Khabib. He's the better fighter in my opinion, and does win this fight most of the time. But minus 450, no, I wouldn't lay that on Khabib, not on this spot against a guy like Poirier who's looked amazing. And man, if Poirier, I'll tell you right now, Cole, I wouldn't be shocked if Poirier won this fight.
No, me either.
Yeah, I wouldn't be either.
Like, I think the odds should be like minus 200 Khabib.
Yeah, like they opened up, I think, fair, minus 240 plus 205. That was a bit more fair. This seems a little bit too lopsided. Curious to see what other people think about this fight. If you want to leave a comment there. But overall, the odds on this card seem very lopsided towards the favorites. And in my opinion, Cole, you will see a couple upsets here. Go ahead.
With Poirier too, like, look who he's been training with at ATT. Like, he has Colby Covington, like, with his wrestling all the time.
Yeah.
Like, Covington's an elite wrestler. Like, if you're working with him all the time, and he's a bigger guy, you're working with guys like Masvidal, Barboza. Like, I talked to Barboza. Barboza's like, I helped Poirier so much in this camp because I fought Khabib. Like, our whole gym has prepared for Khabib before, so we know, like, what it's like. And basically what Barboza said, which is really interesting, is he said, basically, if I got a rematch against Khabib, that fight would be totally different because when you fight Khabib, you just focus on the takedowns and you don't fight your game plan, which is so true, which is what John Kavanagh said it from McGregor. Like, I think if Poirier doesn't worry about the takedowns, just worry about his fight, worry about his strike, I think he has a good chance in this fight.
Yeah, there's definitely a chance. And the odds, again, they're tempting to put some money on Poirier. Maybe that's why the odds are this way, but I think he's got a better chance than a lot of us believe. All right, let's talk about UFC China, Cole. Not for UFC 242. We'll be back next week talking about that card, but breaking it down, what happened. Let's talk about UFC China quickly. I did already recap this card yesterday on the podcast, so I'm sure if you guys listen to the podcast regularly, you have heard this, but another rough night of picks from you, Cole. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of upsets in this card. We got to pick it back up for this UFC 242 card. But yeah, a lot of fights that I did not see going the way they did, including, of course, the main event where Weili Zhang defeats Jessica Andrade 42 seconds. 2 questions. First off, did you think the elbows that she landed behind the head were illegal elbows, or do you think they were to the side of the head? And second off, do you think she's going to become the next Ronda Rousey? Like Dana White's saying she is.
I think a couple were illegal. I watched it back, and I still think they're illegal. At the first, I'm like, those might be illegal. Then I rewatched it later that day, and I'm like, no, I think they were from behind the head. The next Ronda Rousey, I don't think so. Maybe in the Chinese market, but it won't be here in North America because she can't speak English. Like, I think to be a star in North America, you have to speak English. You have to be able to really, because your post-fight interview loses a lot of steam. Even if you make an amazing post-fight interview, call out a bunch of people, say a bunch of stuff, but the wait for it to get translated back to English and it's just a random person saying it to you, it kind of feels different. So I don't think she'll be a star. But this is like, I don't get why Dana White wants to bring her to the States. Like, I just keep on having her defend her belt in China. Like, make her this massive star out in Asia. Like, we see what One Championship's doing. They're really taking over the Asian market. Like, if the UFC serious, they should just do just a book a bunch of Zhang title fights in Asia. Like, don't reveal the locations yet and see when Zhang can fight. They've changed locations before. They made the 243 card in Australia when I was supposed to be in Vegas or stateside. So they've done before. I don't think she'll be a star with Ronda Rousey, but she has a skill set to do it.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I think she could be a global star, but the fact that she doesn't speak English definitely hurts her for sure. It's the same problem that a lot of other fighters have had in the sport, but there's no doubt she's talented, Cole. And Dana White, he always pushes these fighters a little too fast, but I think in Zhang's case, she's actually really, really good. And this was a great performance, although I still feel like a few of those elbows were behind the head, and I think that's kind of what put on draws on roller skates. But either way, great performance by Zhang. The way she finished with those knees to the body was just absolutely vicious. Co-main event here, Cole, another surprising win here by Li Jingliang, defeating Eliza Zaleski Santos. To me, this is actually more surprising than the main event. So Santos was on that nice 7-fight win streak, looked great, and Jingliang finishes him. Is Jingliang legit, man? Is he top 10 welterweight?
See, this is the thing. Like, the problem I've had before I get into that, the problem I had with Dos Santos is he keeps on accepting unranked fights.
Yeah.
And like I talked to him before the fight, I'm like, why are you not fighting ranked opponents? He's like, oh, I just like to fight. Like, I'll literally ask the UFC to give me a fight. They're like, you want a ranked opponent? They're like, just get me in as quick as I can. But now this is the problem. You lose to an unranked opponent, there goes your ranking spot. Like, if you lose to like a Robbie Lawler or someone like 10 or in that range, if you lose to them, you're still going to keep your spot at 14. But now I don't think the rankings have been updated since the card, but he's probably out of the rankings now. They probably just swapped him and Li Jingliang. But I think the UFC is going to try to push him. I think you'll get a ranked opponent next, or you'll get a big name. But I don't know. His striking's good, but we've never really seen his ground against like a wrestler, because there's so many elite wrestlers in the welterweight division that's going to be a real test for him. Like, look at the top of the welterweight division; it's just a lot of really good wrestlers. So that's going to be a question mark for him still. But his striking is really impressive.
Yeah, his striking looked really good in this fight. I've been a fan of Jingliang for a while. I just didn't think he'd win this fight. I'm surprised that he looks so dominant. A couple other fights I want to talk about quickly. Kai Kara France defeats Mark De La Rosa. Called for a quick turnaround fight at UFC 243. Do you think this guy could be a flyweight title contender, Cole? Kai Kara France.
I think he can. His striking is really good. He showed really good takedown defense against Mark De La Rosa, who's a good wrestler and good jiu-jitsu guy. That was a big question mark. Like, on the podcast, I said I favor Kai Kara France, but if De La Rosa gets his fight on the ground, I wouldn't be surprised if he submitted De La Rosa, or De La Rosa submitted Kara France. And I was impressed. His takedown defense, and he at one point, like, De La Rosa was going for the slam, then out of nowhere, Kara France reversed and slammed De La Rosa. So it was just an impressive performance from Kara France. I think he deserves a top guy next. I think it would be smart for them to put him on that 243 card. I think that's a good chance he is on that. He didn't take a huge amount of damage in this fight, but I think he easily could be a flyweight contender, or like a title contender soon.
Yeah, no, I think so too. This guy's good, man. Like you said, Cole, I think for me, the eye-opening thing was the takedown defense. I didn't realize his wrestling was that good. This was a great performance by Kai Kara France. There's a picture of him with Dana White after the fight, so he's talking to Dana White. Any other fights you want to quickly touch on here, Cole? Anything else that stood out to you?
No, not really. It was just the card I watched. I didn't get up at 3 a.m. for that. I don't think a lot of people did. I just watched it later that day and into Sunday, because I went to the Jays game on Saturday. So it was kind of, I watched some of it in the morning, then when I got home, and then just both the rest Sunday. It was good. Like, it was just a Chinese card. I was surprised how well the Chinese fighters did. 5-1. They got to be happy with that. The UFC has to be happy with Weili Zhang being the champion. I think they wanted that to happen, but that was impressive. It was a good card for what it was, what a lot of names people didn't know.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I wish the time was a little different, but again, it was catering to the local market, and those Chinese fighters really did look good in that card. What else do I have lined up for today? Maybe just a couple pieces of news I want to get your thoughts on. I posted the video of Rumble Johnson yesterday, Cole, on BJ Penn. Do you think he could be a heavyweight title contender when he comes back? I mean, it's going to be a 3-year layoff, but look at him in those videos, man. What do you think?
The problem I have with him is his cardio. His cardio faded so much to light heavyweight. He's putting on like 60 extra pounds. Like, he did a submission grappling event and he was 278.
Yeah.
Like, he's gonna be like 60 pounds heavier than what he was at light heavyweight. So how's that extra weight gonna impact his cardio? But the power at heavyweight, like, I think he could be like Ngannou. If he just touches you once, like, you're going to sleep. So it should be an interesting thing. I think he'll get a top 5 guy. He'll get a big name. The UFC seems to like him. He's he's a big name for a reason. A lot of fans are interested in him, but I think he could be as long as they give him the right matchups. Like I think if he fights a wrestler, I think he'll lose. But if he fights a guy a guy with a chin like Overeem, like a Dos Santos who's been knocked out, I think that's a favorable matchup for him.
Yeah, no, I think so too. I personally feel like he could actually go far because of that KO power and the fact that heavyweight's so shallow. And I've seen a lot of fans in the comments that were like, "Oh, you should fight Greg Hardy first." No, I think you should be fighting someone like JDS, like he asked for, or Overeem, someone in like the top 10. Because you know what? Who knows if he's going to retire again after this point? And speaking of guys coming back from retirement, I talked about this morning, so I'm not going to give my thoughts, but I want to get your quick thoughts on this one. You know what I'm talking about here. One of the shortest retirements in UFC history, Alexander Gustafsson, he wants to come back and fight Luke Rockhold. What was your initial reaction when you saw that headline?
MMA retirements aren't real. Like, stop saying you're retired. Just say, literally do what GSP said. Like, I'm stepping away from the sport for a little while. If you don't return, you did say you were stepping away. If you return, you never said you retired. Yep. Like, so many guys retire, and then, like, 3 months later, they're like, nah, I want to fight again. Like, that's the problem with the MMA. So many people, no one knows when to leave. Like, and a lot of the time, you leave the sport on a bunch of knockout losses when you should have left a lot earlier. But Luke Rockhold against Gustafsson, I mean, it's two big names, but am I interested in that fight? Probably not, because Rockhold's coming off a knockout loss at light heavyweight. He's not ranked. I don't think he's ranked. I probably shouldn't be, but
I don't think. Actually, let me double check that. I mean, he could be just based on his name, but he hasn't beaten anyone. So,
well, we saw Joanna Jędrzejczyk was after she lost Shevchenko, she was like the number 2 flyweight for forever.
Yeah, he's not ranked. There's no Rockhold in the top 15, so that I guess makes sense. Although I think he could be guys like Misha Serkinov maybe, but either way, yeah, I'm not surprised though if Gus is coming back. It looks like he is. Rockhold's a great fight for him. I just think Rockhold should retire. But the two guys, Rockhold should be the one who retires. Two straight knockout losses, 3 of his last 4 by brutal knockout cone. It's like at this point, if his chin gets touched, he goes to sleep. It's really dangerous, I think, for him to continue fighting. Gustafsson's only 32 though, Cole. He did lose to Smith. I think that was a bad performance by him. Well, he actually looked okay up until like the last round there. But either way, 2 straight losses. But before that, you could forget Cole. He knocked out Glover and beat Blachowicz, who looks like the next title contender. So I'm not surprised Gus is coming back.
The problem with Gus is like if he comes back, I'd rather see him at heavyweight because he's not getting another title shot at 205, especially with Jones as the champion. Like he's 0-2, and the last fight was a dominating performance from Jones.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think we talked about Till last week.
Yeah.
What about how this one? Carlos Condit against Mickey Gall, UFC Washington.
What a weird fight.
Why? Like, get it, right?
I don't understand the matching. It's just weird. Like, I don't know. Like, I think that they really like Mickey Gall. They try to push him a lot. And this is a fight, like, it just reminds me of Diego Sanchez. Like, Gall's getting that big name. He's supposed to be like an over-the-hill veteran, and he got dominated. I wouldn't be surprised if the same thing happened here.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, Condit's submission defense is pretty bad. Gall could win this fight. UFC wants him to win, clearly. They think Condit's on the way up. 5 straight losses, Cole. So that says volumes, I think, about where he is right now. Another short-lived retirement, Bobby Green. He retired last year after losing to Drakkar Klose. Now he comes back 8 months later, fights Trinaldo. Trinaldo's 41. Do you think Bobby Green wins this fight? He's going down to Brazil to fight Trinaldo. Not an easy fight.
I think he could. Trinaldo's last fight, it was a terrible fight against Alexander Hernandez. Nothing really happened in that. Trinaldo's still a good fighter, 41, but I don't know. Bobby Green, I'm surprised you're tied up his last fight. It's a close fight. Like, I'm not shocked to see Bobby Green back. That's another guy that when he retired, I'm like, yeah, he'll probably be back in a bit. But again, how long did his retirement last? Like, not even a year?
Yeah, it didn't last too long. Oh, you know what, Cole? We should talk about this because I completely forgot this is going to happen. Let's talk about this before we get out of here, Cole. Bellator 226. I will be doing the podcast, I think, on Thursday or Friday, whenever the odds come out. Probably Thursday. Hopefully Thursday. I mean,
Bellator takes way too long.
Yeah, they come up really late. So
and this is like a big card. They should have odds out already.
I agree. But anyways, let's talk about this card quickly. How many fights? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. There's like 20 fights on this card. What the hell? Why is there so many fights?
That's a classic Bellator. Because they do like have many prelims as they can. Then they do those post limbs or whatever, which is the dumbest thing ever. Like,
I know, but there's too many fights, 20 fights. Anyways, let's talk about this card quickly, Cole. Almost completely slipped my mind here. Ryan Bader against Giacomo in the main event. Again, no odds right now, but initial thoughts on this fight. You think Bader wins?
yeah, I think Bader will use his wrestling to really take Congo down. I think this is a fight. I just think Bader will be the heavyweight champion in Bellator for a while just because of his wrestling. Like a lot of the Bellator heavyweights, like they can't deal with the wrestling. They don't have a wrestling background. Like we saw him, and he has a lot of power. Like we saw him in the heavyweight tournament, knocked out Mo Lawal, knocked out Fedor with one punch. It's not even like they just like dragged him down. Like it was quick, first punch he got him with, knocked him out. Like I think his power and his wrestling will be too much for Congo, and I think he'll win this fight by stoppage.
Yeah, you gotta like Ryan Bader. Look at his record, 7 straight wins, and he's actually won 12 of his last 13 fights. The one lost to Rumble. So since 2013, he's 12-1. That's incredible. He's looked amazing at Bellator. He looks better at heavyweight than he ever did at light heavyweight, in my opinion. 36 years old. He is an older guy, but for heavyweight, it's actually a decent age for him. So I think he wins this fight too. I mean, Congo, you got to give Congo some credit. 44 years old, still looks like that. Unbelievable. And he's on a nice win streak here, 8 straight wins, but including that win over Minikop, which was a great win. But a lot of the wins by decision. I don't think that's going to work against Ryan Bader. I think Bader wins this fight as well. Now, the question is, if Bader wins, is he the best heavyweight in the world? I still find it hard to put him over Stipe. You'd agree with me on that, eh? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like some promoter talk by Scott Coker. You can't blame him. I mean, he's trying to promote his fight, but I think Steve is the best guy in the world. Co-main event, Daniel Strauss against Derek Campos. Any thoughts on this featherweight bout?
Yeah, I keep on going back and forth in this one. This will be a really good.
Sorry, this is the tournament bout, by the way.
Yeah. I keep on going back and forth. Like it's gonna be such a good fight. I think the Bellator tournament, the featherweights. I was like 16 man. How are they gonna do 16 man? Like I don't even think they have that many good featherweights. But then when I saw it, I'm like, it's some really good names. So it starts obviously on Saturday. I think it's a close fight. I keep on going back and forth. I favor Strauss a tiny bit, but it's a fight that I wouldn't be surprised if either 1-1.
Yeah, I favor Strauss a bit too, but again, that's the odds on this one. Next up, Pat Curran against Borks. Adam Borks in a featherweight bout, tournament bout. Do you think Borks wins, Cole? I think he actually does win.
I think Borks wins too. I've been impressed. The Pico win really showed that like he could be something special. Pat Curran, obviously, he is a really good veteran of Bellator, but I mean, his last loss was against AJ McKee. He has some good wins. He beat Georgia Carrick-Onen. He's beat Emmanuel Sanchez. He's beat Strauss. But I think Borks is that young prospect the Bellator's trying to push, and I think he gets it done.
I agree. Next up, Taiwan Claxton, 5-0. Undefeated prospect, takes on Emmanuel Sanchez. Who do you like there?
I really like Claxton. I think this is too much too soon. I think Emmanuel Sanchez is just that too much of a step up for him. But again, this is like the tournament's such evenly matched that I wouldn't be surprised if Claxton won, but I favor Sanchez slightly.
Man, Claxton's good. I mean, he's looked amazing in Bellator, but you got to favor Sanchez based on the body of work. But don't be surprised if Claxton wins. That's when I'll put a star beside because I think there could be an upset there. The other featherweight tournament bout, Sam Sicilia takes on Pedro Carvalho. Who's your pick there?
I like Pedro Carvalho in that one. I think he's just a better striker. I think Sicily was in the UFC, but he lost to Gabriel Benitez, Gavin Tucker. He's lost to Manuel Sanchez. His last one is a split over Campos. Carvalho just I think has that. His last one was against Derek Campos, where he knocked him out. I just think he's the better fighter all around. He'll get it done. I wouldn't even be surprised if he finishes Sicily because we've seen Sicily be finished before.
My girlfriend's Portuguese, so she's gonna love this guy Pedro Carvalho. I gotta show her to her. But yeah, I think he does win. Cole. I don't know. I don't think Sam Sicily is too special. And I believe this is an alternate bout for the tournament. Gaston Bolanos against Daniel Carey. Any thought on that fight?
Gaston Bolanos, I think he'll win by knockout.
Yeah, I'm surprised he's not in the tournament straight up, Cole, because he's looked amazing in Bellator for the most part. 5-1 record, all in Bellator, 4 straight wins. A little surprising he's not in the tournament. All his wins by KO. This guy is definitely a dangerous fighter. Carey, Daniel Scary Carey. Oh, what an awful nickname. Coming off a knockout loss. Gee, I wonder who Bellator wants to win this fight, Cole. Just looking at the rest of the card, Adam Piccolotti comes back to fight Jake Smith. That's a notable name there. What else? This guy, Luis Vargas, takes on Chris Gonzalez. What else we got here? Amber Lelock, Jessica Borga. There's someone else. Oh, yeah, James Terry. He fights Batsumberbel Dav. Oh, that's a tough one. I can't even pronounce that one, guys. I'm going to try. But James Terry is a guy that's been around for a long time, Cole. big long-time veteran in the sport. What were you going to say? Go ahead.
No, yeah, like I don't know. It started off with a good tournament. I think the second half, like the 228 bracket, is a lot better. I think it has the better names just because it has like Pitbull, Archuleta.
Yeah.
It has like Caldwell, Corrales, AJ McKee, Georgia Karakainen. But at Bellator 228 card, I still can't believe Antonio McKee is fighting on that at 49. Like,
yeah, I agree. Oh yeah, so there's Bellator 227, then 220. There's a lot of Bellator this
yeah, well, Bellator 227 has this stupid 2 cards. It's Bellator 227 and Bellator Dublin. It's the same day.
Yeah, I see the Sherdog page right now. Bellator
Yeah.
227, Bellator Dublin.
It's so dumb they do that.
20 fights again. There's just too many fights on these cards, though, Cole.
And no one, like, the prelims are just local fighters to sell tickets, but no one tunes in. But who's your early pick for the Grand Prix?
Yeah, we never talked about that. I don't know. I mean, it's tough, man. I think it's going to depend on how the bracket shapes up for the second half of it. Obviously, depends on how much damage these guys take. We could see a situation where someone pulls a Daniel Cormier and gets inserted in due to an injury. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. Going to take a look at 228. So you got Pitbull against Archuleta, McKee against Karakhanyan, Caldwell, Corrales, Rachel. Rachel Sal Rogers. Am I crazy for thinking AJ McKee's got a good chance to win this goal?
I was just about to say that. I think he has a good chance to win, too.
I like the fight against Karakhanyan to start it off. Listen, I was going to say, Pitbull's got to be the favorite because he's a champ. That fight against Archuleta is a tough fight, man. I'm surprised they put them in the first round.
Well, I think it makes sense because Archuleta deserves the title shot, and he gets the title shot right away. And then he doesn't have to fight through the bracket in case he loses. But that's a tough fight. Like, I don't even know who I'd pick in that. Like, Archuleta has looked good.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, I think McKee, man, this guy is so talented.
The thing is, they're picking their bracket, and I think whoever wins Pitbull Archuleta will try to stay away from McKee. Like, I don't think anyone's really gonna pick McKee to fight. Like, I think that's the thing. Like, I think a lot of the favorites will kind of stay away from him because they know how good he is.
Yeah, it's going to be strange how they do that. So I think from what we read, again, and I want to make sure there's some journalists in that room where they're doing this. I think Coker said he's going to have some eggs, and inside the eggs are going to have like a number, and whoever pulls that number gets to pick first, second, third, fourth, etc. And you get to pick your matchup. So
it's a cool idea instead of how they just did the brackets. Like,
yeah, it's a little bit more fair, I think. But again, I want to make sure that there's a third-party entity in that room, Cole, because if Scott Coker's like, oh yeah, these are the fights the fighters pick, like how are we going to actually believe that, But yeah, I think McKee, man, he's only 24, Cole. He's already 14-0 in his career. This guy is amazing, and like you said, his father's fighting on that card, Antonio McKee. He's how old is he now? 45, 49, 40, 49 years old, Cole. He's older than Chuck Liddell was. Why is he fighting again? That's crazy. That's freaking nuts, man. He's coming off a win at least, but man, why is Antonio McKee Jr. or Senior fighting? Unreal. Anyways, all right, cool. I think that's it for today, man. We did a long show. All right, guys. Appreciate you tuning in as always. Cole, thanks for joining me. Plug your stuff and we'll get out of here. Go ahead.
Twitter at ColeShelton91, BJ Penn, Sherdog, everything else on my Twitter. This week, I talked to Edson Barboza. That should be up on BJ Penn soon. Fighter picks, Khabib Poirier. I talked to Czech Congo. That was up yesterday. Other than that, just follow my Twitter. Everything's on my social media.
Guys, follow me on Twitter at MMAOB. This podcast is available at MMAOddsbreaker.com. Go to our YouTube channel, like, share, subscribe, comment, tell your friends about it. Appreciate that, guys. Trying to grow the channel right now, and it's growing slowly but surely, but I appreciate you guys tuning in. I know we had some live viewers today, so me and Cole really do appreciate that. Guys, also check out bjpen.com. Always writing about the news there. And MMARings.net, I have an article about Weili Zhang and Li Jingliang and why I believe they could be the key to the UFC's future in China and all over the Asian market. Guys, once again, thanks for tuning into the podcast. I'll be back tomorrow morning breaking down the latest in the world of MMA. Thanks again, Cole, for joining me today. Guys, have an amazing day, and I'll be back tomorrow talking about the latest in MMA. Have a good one.